All right, I'm going to go ahead and work out the review with you. So for number one, I'm going to try to zoom in, let's see, so that you can see better. For number one, the first thing that we want to do is we want to distribute that 6. And so we get 12x plus 24 is equal to a negative 72. Okay, so if you look at the whole goal is to solve for x. So if you look at it, what's in the way is that positive 24. So the only way to get rid of a positive 24 is to subtract 24 on both sides. At that point, this cancels out, so you're left with 12x is equal to, you have two negatives, so when you add two negatives, you get a negative, and that is a negative 96. And then what you do here is you divide by 12. These two cancel out, leaving you with x equals. Let's take care of signage first. A negative number divided by a positive is going to be a negative. And then all you do now is take care of the 96 divided by 12, so that's going to give you 8. There's quite a few ways to do number 2. The first one would be to take that 8.5 and make it into 8.5, so negative 4x plus 15 is equal to 8.5. And then you subtract 15 on both sides. So you get negative 4x is equal to, let's see, 8.5 minus 15, negative 6.5. And then you divide by a negative 4. If we take care of signage, a negative and a negative divided by a negative cancel out, so I'm just really left with 6.5 divided by 4, and that gives you 1.625. That's a nice decimal, and I'll take that. I'll take that. Okay, the alternate way of doing this is to change that into an improper fraction. So meaning 2 times 8, which is 16, plus 1, which is 15. So really you have a negative 4x plus 15 is equal to 2 times 8 is 16. I think I made a mistake. I think I said 15. Let's do it again. It's 2 times 8 is 16 plus 1 is 17. So this would be 17 over 2. So the only thing is that we only have a denominator of 2. So in order to get rid of it, I'm going to multiply everything by 2 to cancel this out. So I'm basically left with a negative 8x plus 30 is equal to a 17. Subtract 30 on both sides, so you get a negative 8x is equal to negative 13. Divide by a negative 8 on both sides. If you do that and take care of signage, your negatives cancel, and you're left with 13 over 8, which is the same thing as 1.625. Number 3, alright, number 3 has a whole bunch of denominators on there, so if you think about it and go through your timetables, 5, 10, 15, 20, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So it looks like 20 is going to be the magic number here. So I'm going to multiply everything by 20. Everything. Don't forget to do everything. So then if I follow my process, it's 20 divided by 5. 20 divided by 5 is 4. times 3x would give me 12x, plus, I can read the next part as half of 20. Half of 20 is 10, equals 3/4 x times 20. So 20 divided by 4 is 5, times the 3x would give you 15x, minus, and then 20. Remember, you want to move the smallest x, which in this case it's 12. It's positive, so in order to get rid of it, you're going to say minus 12x on both sides. So you're left with 10 equals 3x minus 20. Move that negative 20 by adding 20 to both sides. So you get 30 is equal to 3x, and then you divide by 3 on both. So you officially get that 10 is equal to x. Okay, now we have absolute values equations. Remember, the goal is to get the absolute value by itself. So right now it's not by itself, and we need to get rid of it. We need to get it by itself. So I need to get rid of that positive 5, which is in the way. So I will subtract 5 on both parts. So I get the absolute value of x minus 6 is equal to 9. And remember, you have two answers for this one. You have, well, my regular one, x minus 6 equals 9. And then you have, or x minus 6 equals negative 9. So the same thing, but equaling the opposite number. And then what you do is solve for both. Plus 6 cancels out. So x is equal to 15. Or plus 6 cancels out. X is equal to a negative 3. I need both answers. Both. Number 5 is pretty simple. Same situation. You want to isolate the absolute values. So I'm going to add 7 on both sides. That gives me the absolute value of 5x plus 2 is equal to 32. So then you do the same thing like in number 4, where you say, okay, I'm either going to have 5x plus 2 equals 32, or 5x plus 2 messed up on it. Trying to find my whiteout. $5x plus 2 equals a negative 32. Alright, so then we subtract 2 on both. So here I get 5x is equal to 30. And you divide by 5. So you get x is equal to 6. Here you subtract 2. So 5x is equal to a negative 34. Divide by 5. So x is equal to negative 34 fifths, or let's see if that's a nice number. Yeah, 6.8. So a negative 6.8. Number 6. I'm going to move the smallest x. So So in this case, that's the negative 2x. So I'm going to have to add 2x on both parts. So that's going to cancel this out. So I'm left with 15 is greater than 6x minus 9. Then you want to add 9 to both sides. So you get 24 is greater than 6x. And then you divide by 6. So you get 4 is greater than x. But remember the conversation that we had? I don't like, when it comes to these type of questions, I don't like my letter on the right. I like it on the left. So I can do that. I can move around as long as it's eating the same number. So here it's eating the 4. So I can flip it to where it's still eating the 4 here. So these two are equivalent answers. But the reason why I flip it, because I understand this better when it comes to graphing. I have trouble understanding this one when it comes to graphing. So I officially have x is less than 4. Plot my 4 right there. I'm going to shade towards that, which means the left. And then I'm going to have a parentheses like that. Number 7. I'm going to move the smallest x, which is 7. It's positive, so I'm going to say minus 7x. That's going to cancel this one here. So I officially have 3x minus 15 is less than or equal to 12. Add 15 to both sides. 3x is less than or equal to 27. And then you divide by 3. So x is less than or equal to 9. That's a good answer. Plot your 9. Obviously you're going to shade towards the left, and it looks like it's going to be a bracket. Number 8. There's only one x, so we're good there. So the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of that 15. So I'm going to subtract 15 on both sides. That cancels that out. So you're left with negative 3x is greater than or equal to, let's see, 24 minus 15, 9. Divide by negative 3. Because you're dividing or multiplying by a negative, you got to flip the inequality, and then you get a negative 3 as your answer. So x is less than or equal to negative 3. Negative 3. Shade towards the left, and it's going to be a bracket. All right, number 9. This time it's absolute value inequalities. And again, the whole point is to have the absolute value by itself. So in this situation, it is by itself. So remember, we have two cases. We have that, and I told you that's a greater, and then all of a sudden I changed it to greater. So you're going to have one where it's exactly that same thing, x plus 6 is greater than 21, or you're going to have that exact same thing, x plus 6, but it's flipped. and because you flip it, it's going to be less than its negative version, negative 21. And then you solve for both. So minus 6, minus 6. So here you get x is greater than 15, or minus 6, minus 6. X is less than negative 27. So when it comes time to graph the ORs, they should look like this. Here's 15, shade towards the right. So that must be a parentheses. Here's negative 27, shade towards the left, and that's a parentheses. All of the ORs go in opposite directions. All of the ORs go in opposite directions. Okay, now let's do this one, number 10. I'm going to isolate the absolute value, so I'm going to subtract 7 on both. So I get the absolute value of x minus 2 is less than or equal to 9. Okay, and then with these type, it's the less than, and, it's the and. When it's an and, that means it's in between. So the only thing that it can be is it can share its opposite version as well. So I'm going to have negative 9 is less than or equal to x minus 2, which is less than or equal to 9. So its boundaries were the positive and negative versions of that number. And then what you do is you just add 2 to both sides. So you end up getting negative 7 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 11. So negative 7, 11, shade in between, and should look like that. Okay, that kind of covers, 1 through 10 covers, I want to say unit, oh actually it does cover unit 1 and unit 2. 1 through 10 covers unit 1 and unit 2. I'm going to stop this one so that I can start a new video for the unit 3 part.